Hi everybody, I'm Ruechel and welcome to this portion of the PCS Journal. We sit down with Dr. Grego and we are talking about a lot of things that are important to you. And by the way, happy start of a new school year. Isn't it great? Dr. Grego, it's good to see you.
Great to see you too, Al.
Off and running. Okay, we're going to address something in just a second. I want to talk about something about restorative practices. So don't go away because you need to hear this stuff. But let's start out on the positive side of things. You had a great school year last year. Any reason to believe that this year won't be even better?
We did. We had a wonderful school year last year, and we built upon that. We built the momentum over the summer. We did so much training over the summer. We hired about 500 new teachers. Did a lot of administrative teacher training, supports training. We got everything up and running. We had one of the smoothest openings ever. Thank you for the rain the first week of school, but after that the sun is out. We live in a wonderful state and we're off and running for a second week, and I'm just so thrilled about all the preparation. Some people don't recognize all of the logistics that it takes to open up school. So thank you to the bus drivers, thank you to food services and each and every teacher and each and every employee. But we had a wonderful opening.
Right, thank yous are always welcomed around here. Okay, let's talk about something called restorative practices. There was a story that ran in one of our local newspapers that made the implication that the district was fudging the numbers of kids that were being referred just to drop the numbers down. And the further allegation made in the story, if I'm paraphrasing it correctly, is that some of the teachers, and I use the word some, said they weren't getting the right kind of training that allowed them to not write a referral, yet still keep control of their classroom. So let's start out with the basics. Restorative practices. What is that term and when did it start?
So it just started 2 years ago in our district full-fledged, and we did our first year of full implementation last year, and we did do a massive training. And we, of all teachers, and we're even including our bus drivers and food service workers, we feel like everyone that is in front or beside students needs to understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to support our students, but we're also trying to support our teachers and every faculty member that is engaged with students. That's what that's about. If a student has a repeat consequence or repeat misbehavior, we're trying to find out what the source is. We're not eliminating, we're nowhere in restorative practices is this a discipline program, or we're not trying to eliminate the consequences of students. The PBIS, the Positive Behavior Intervention System, is really our behavior system. It's not restorative practices, and sometimes that's misunderstood.
Okay.
And so all of our teachers have been trained. We continue to do that training. Our administrators have been trained. And so last year was our first year. But several years ago, we started to explore the disproportionality of our students, especially our African American students, with our out-of-school suspensions. And our board changed several policies that required our area superintendents to take a look at these out-of-school suspensions. What we know is that, yes, we still have suspensions. We're still suspending students for unfortunate acts, but let's not suspend them for frivolous things. For example, we saw several years ago we were suspending students for carrying or using a cell phone. There needs to be a consequence, but the removal from the educational environment, we all agree, was too severe. Or perhaps if there was a Saturday work detail or Saturday detention, if a student missed that, then all of a sudden we're going to suspend them out of school. So we were cutting those things that really didn't make much sense. But we were also ensuring that we understood that the consequence was going to be uniformly administered throughout our district. So if the consequence happened in one end or one side of our district or one school, the consequence was going to be the same.
So there is I don't want to say a manual, but there is something that says if student does X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's when you write a referral.
It's in our student code of conduct, and our student code of conduct is reviewed each year by a massive panel of parents and students, by the way, are on there.
Okay.
Teachers, administrators, our school board approves it, we review it. It's about a 4 to 5 month process of review. Mr. Ward Kennedy, one of our area superintendents, is in charge of conducting that. So we try to steer and guide those administrators and teachers that this would be the consequence for that. And it's a guidance, because every circumstance is different. And so it's a guidance, and it has resulted in a reduction. Now, the other side of restorative practices is that of management and working and building relationships with students is something that's our business.
Sure. And
students are reporting in terms of we do a restorative circle at times, and that tremendous benefits. And so are teachers. We never want to take our eye off of the support of teachers and really the the ability to manage a classroom, that's vital for all students. We should never, no misbehavior should ever cause the disruption of instruction.
If you were to look back 10 years ago, are we just seeing in general in society, because I think if you look at society as a whole, not talking about specifically Pinellas, that you do see younger people tending to be a little bit more free with their comments, which may not be good, that they're slightly less disciplined, or am I missing the point on that?
Well, I always have stated and continue to state that what happens in schools is simply a mirror of what's happening in our society.
Yeah.
Whether we walk the malls or we listen to people and parents, and the ability to really steer so the students don't come to school and then something clicks on differently.
Sure.
So to your point, I would agree with that.
So now, I guess what the bottom line is, as I want to hear out of this story, is that teachers do have a tool to use. Now, in terms of the training that they're getting, are they being trained by this institute that you mentioned, or are they being trained by teachers that have gone through the institute, or administrators that have gone through the institute?
Well, the IRP is the national training, and they have come in here, and one of the things we've partnered, first of all, I think it's very important, we partnered with our Classroom Teachers Association,
okay,
our teacher union, because it was decided early on that we could either take this approach school by school. There's some districts across the United States that obviously there's a lot of districts across the United States that are a lot smaller, and they take maybe two schools this year, 4 schools the next year, 6 schools the next year. We decided that we wanted this to be a grassroots effort. That decision was made by the union, by our staff, and by many people, and I believe it needs to be a grassroots effort to sustain itself, so it's not just another thing that a couple of years from now, do you remember that?
Oh, I do remember that
Practices
cycle.
and that cycle. So we got with the Classroom Teachers Association and said, let's build this with our teachers. And so we actually have a certified or licensed certified restorative practices trainer in every single school. Because if the situation comes up in a school or during a school day, you can't go ask a consultant that's already gone.
Oh,
you want that expertise right in the school, and you want to build that capacity at the school level. So that's what we've done. Are there going to be kind of trials and tribulations along the way when we're trying to roll this out to well over 120 school sites? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our responsibility, collective responsibility of teachers and administrators, is to identify those challenges, and let's bring them into the staff development. Let's grow on them. Nothing's going to be perfect the first time.
Sure.
But let's grow on them. Let's find out. Let's identify what those challenges are. Let's determine what those responses could be, and let's learn from them.
Now, this is going to be a little bit wonky because being a news guy, I tend to look at these things. So when you have a program and you have to measure whether it's successful or not, you collect data, or data, whatever you want to call it. Is it somewhere available so people can look at them and say, okay, this is how the data was collected, so they know how to interpret it? Because oftentimes in the media, we look at data and we'll go, oh, that must obviously mean this, when in reality, if you saw what data was collected, how it was collected, you would make the different conclusion. Again, it's people on the outside looking in and going, oh gosh, that's what it really means, when in reality, you're working with it, your teachers are working with it, administrators, et cetera.
So we did, last year being our first full year, we did a pretty sizable survey to teachers, administrators, and we learned from that. Do people feel like they understand the key components of restorative practices? What additional training is needed? No one felt like this was a one dunk and done.
Yeah.
And so we did that. Secondly, we did some focus group meetings and really tried to reach out to and work with principals and teachers, and the union is working with them too. That we meet monthly with them on this. Ms. Wright and Mr. Poth, the 2 area superintendents who are leading this charge, they have regularly scheduled meetings on this to find out what's working well, what's not. But again, I want to emphasize that it's not a behavior plan. It's rather, how can we continue to support the teacher, and how can we continue to support the students? We're trying to break this cycle, and everyone's saying and talking about it, but I'm real proud of our district for actually trying to do something about it instead of just regurgitating the same research and the same things over and over again. we are being hailed by IRP, which is a national site, as one of the premier districts that are working to implement the restorative practices. We're on their website as the premier district to seek after.
Yeah, that speaks volumes,
so
doesn't it?
I'm not trying to say that everything's perfect. Nothing is. I'd be foolish to do that, but rather that we need to work together so that we know we can move this needle. As we've identified 4 or 5 years ago, we need to involve our parents, involve our students, involve our teachers. But in no way, shape, or form are we saying, don't write referrals, or there shouldn't be any
they'll be
consequence.
ripped up and thrown away, and
it's
nothing
not
will be
that
done.
way at all.
Well, I wanted to give you a chance to address that. And folks, if you ever have any questions about school policy and stuff, I really encourage you to get a hold of your school board member, or even Dr. Grego, or
Right.
you know, and take the time to ask the questions that need to be asked to find out what's going on in our district, because there are so many positive things that are going on, but as you said, nothing is perfect, and you have to work through some of the bumps. All right, now let's get back to, I looked at this list and I'm going, how much time do we have today to talk about all the new initiatives that you've got going on in Pinellas County Schools? And it's hard to even know where to begin. But let's describe the Center for Gifted Studies and Center for Literacy Innovation. You're doing something new there.
Well, we opened up a new school this year, Al.
Oh, that's why Elisa
Nelson.
That's why the
Elementary
name
School.
didn't strike me.
Yeah, Elisa Nelson Elementary School. It's a new elementary school in Palm Harbor, and it is a school of choice, and it's for the literacy and gifted studies. So now, Al, we have 3 centers for gifted studies. All have a little bit different attachment or supplement to them. This particular one, we're going to be addressing outside of the gifted studies program. We have also, by the way, have one at Ridgecrest, and then the one we opened last year at Midtown in St. Petersburg. This one will have a really tight partnership with the University of South Florida to take a look at and study the latest research on dyslexia and students with who have characteristics of dyslexia.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And it needs to be studied and further studied. And I want to make it clear that this school then and these practices will be communicated, tried, and also provided professional development to all of our other elementary schools. One of the things I'm real sensitive about is I don't want parents to think that's the only place that services are provided with students with dyslexia.
Sure.
They're provided in all of our elementary schools. But what a great, rich environment to have a partnership with USF at Nelson Elementary
Now,
School.
tell me about the Reading Recovery Program, because some of our camera people and our directors here are involved with that too.
Yeah, the Reading Recovery Program is a result of our last year we had tremendous improvement in our reading scores, FSA scores in reading. 3% overall performance. Our learning gains were above the state, but we still weren't satisfied enough. So we asked an outside agency, experts in elementary reading, primary grades reading, to come in and just review our curriculum, review the students' responses, and they advised, and we jointly recommended too, the Reading Recovery Program for some of our most struggling readers. It's becoming a real intricate part of our Bridging the Gap plan to address our African American students' gap in reading in particular at the early grade levels. So we are being very aggressive with this. We're piloting 12 schools, 2 reading recovery teachers per school. We've hired 24 people. They're already trained. They're hit the ground running. I met with them personally before school started. They're very energetic, and they're really wanting to make a difference. I'm very excited about the Reading Recovery Program.
Now, we haven't avoided school safety and security. In fact, we've got a whole program that's dedicated to that. So just want to make sure you folks understand that. We're not avoiding it. In fact, we've got the chief of the Pinellas County Schools Police Department, Luke Williams, will be talking about that in one of our other programs. But for now, Dr. Grego, off and running. And before you know it, we'll be talking about graduation. That's how time goes so quickly. Thank you, Dr. Grego. We're back with more of our program right after this. Stay with us.